welcome to this special edition of Piping with Dawn. For a 2-week period at the end of April and early May, I joined a contingent of 80 pipers, drummers, dancers, and friends, all from around British Columbia, for an amazing adventure in the Netherlands. The whole point of this trip was to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands by the Canadian Army and, of course, the end of World War II. I also want to give credit to the remarkable organization and the leadership of our head team, Chad, Miriam, and Carrie. You guys rock. You put so much effort, so much amazing planning into this. We had such a great time, and I thank you. You'll see that we're very welcomed and, in fact, celebrated by our Dutch hosts at the many places we performed. Sure, at times it was a grueling schedule. You know, some days it was like, get on the bus, do the thing all throughout the day, get back off the bus at midnight, sleep, and then repeat. Yeah. But it was so worth it. So sit back, enjoy this piping, drumming, dancing extravaganza. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. We began our adventure with the four of us, and that would be Claudia, Del, Barb, and me, of course. Getting onto a ferry out of Duke Point and taking that to Tswassen, and then taking a shuttle over to the Vancouver International Airport. Killed a bit of time there, had lunch and refreshments. Of course, this is Barb. Let me introduce Barb. You'll see her quite often in this video. And then the plane took us, after 9.5 hours, to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, where we got onto in another bus, or rather our bus for the next 2 weeks, and it took us to our accommodations in Overasselt. So now I'm starting day 1 is actually the first full day of adventure, so traveling doesn't count. So we stayed at the Het Buitenzentrum, which is a camping outfit with accommodations including 11 of us in this barrack-style room. Other folks had 4-2 room or 8-2 room, but it was great. They fed us, they watered us, they gave us a nice place to stay at, I'm sure at a reasonable price, and it was a great place. We had an area outside for hanging out, even tuning up our pipes. And check out this scenery. Woodland in the heart of the Netherlands. Right across the road, more fields and nature just right beside where we were. And not only that, right in this exact same area, there were some ruins of Saint Walrick. So this is a memorial to, or a shrine to Saint Walrick, after whom the street was named where we stayed. Very cool. And the very next day, no rest for the wicked, we traveled to Veenendaal, where we performed in a town square right after we had traditional breakfast every morning. This is our cafeteria, and there was chocolate and bread and meat and cheese. Oh, and here's Claudia, also one of our travel companions. And Barb and you're going to get the impression we hung out because we did. But after a good breakfast, we jumped on the bus. 7 o'clock in the morning, as you can see. So we got off to an early start, and we traveled to Veenendaal, where it was King's Day. So this is a national, like Canada Day, but in the Netherlands, it's King's Day. National holiday. And you can see we're in a bit of a town square. In a moment, you'll see other folks enjoying the day. Our wonderful dancers. These guys and girls put on amazing shows while we were piping, and it really added to our extravaganza. And look at the crowds. A lot of orange, because that is a national color for the Netherlands. And here's Barb. During a break, we went for a coffee. I had a cappuccino, I think. Then we jumped on the bus after our performance at the town square. We went to a football center. When I say football, it's in the sense of soccer, where there's several playing fields and there was a tournament going on. It was hot. So we spent more time doing this than we actually did playing. And I don't have anything to show you from the playing, but wonderful Dutch beer. Amstel, a great beer. You're going to get to see a few of these beer selfies with me. Be forewarned. Day 3. Now here's our first really adventurous day. We went to Bemmel and then Huissen. We were treated to a great reception in Bemmel. Look at these treats. And we were all gathered in the reception to be addressed by the mayor. And then we got on with the playing out front of the castle. And after playing, we were given a tour of some monuments, including this Liberation Wing, a wing, literally, and got to see some more of the countryside. And here comes a shot of the four of us at the Liberation Wing. Now, after this, we jumped on a bus and we're taken to lunch into the town of Huissen, and we got to eat at a monastery. It was very nice. So we did that, had some sandwiches. That's the theme from the Netherlands. They love sandwiches, apparently. And then you'll see in a bit, we got to play and march the whole entire band onto a ferry. And then we marched off of the ferry and marched all the way for a couple kilometers right into the downtown of Huissen. And on day 4, we headed off to Vimy Ridge in the north of France.
Another beautiful day in Nijmegen area, over Hasselt, and we're off to Vimy Ridge today. Make some noise. It's gonna be a good day.
At Vimy Ridge, they've got sheep that graze through the tortured landscape that you can see here that was created during World War I with all the shelling. But now they use sheep to manage the grass.
They're running.
Now this is one of the 3 sites, cemeteries of Canadian graves and Allied graves at Vimy Ridge. It's peaceful, it's beautiful, very poignant. So we did this, went to the visitor center, then we got up back on the bus and started heading home. Got off the bus at this cool restaurant in Belgium because you had to drive through Belgium to get to France where Vimy Ridge is. So here we are sitting around, refreshing, cooling off. It was a bit of a hot day, but we were there just for us. We didn't perform for anyone but ourselves, and it was great. Stella Artois, good Belgian beer. On to day 5. We actually had 3 days in a row, starting with this first day. And some friends and I decided to go to the very close town of Nijmegen. Beautiful medieval city, as many of them are in the Netherlands. You can see the architecture here. If you haven't been here before, this is what it's all about. You get to see this history. I mean, look at this, a building built in 1605, and that's average. Throughout Europe, throughout the old cities, you've got these wonderful cathedrals. This is no exception. You've got some very cool history just by looking at these markers for graves in the church floor. And you've got buildings like this. Isn't that so cool? Now, after seeing some sights, we decided some refreshments are in order. So here's John and Mr. PG and Glenn. We hung out all day, had a great time touring Nijmegen, and of course, what better beer to have in the Netherlands than Belgian? Because Belgian beer is so good. And yes, I did have a lot of Belgian beer while we were on our days off. And if you may recall, Indonesia was a Dutch colony. This is Indonesian chicken with a satay sauce, fries, some other shrimp chips. They were so good. And more Belgian beer, Duvel. Then we walked a bit more around the town. And Market Garden, that's what this is all about. Market Garden, the big operation that freed the Netherlands the first time. And now, Nijmegen is on a large river, the Wall, I do believe it's called. And here is a church that was built in Roman era using Roman stones. That's how far back this history goes. It was the last outbuilding of a previous fortress that eventually got taken down during the Napoleonic era. Yep, more refreshment, more sun, more beer. All right, day 6, and this time we're on another free day I had. I went with my buds out to Utrecht. Some say that this is the little Amsterdam of the Netherlands because it's just as old and it's got its canals and it's got cheese. It also has a great cathedral that we went to and checked out some cool things there. Lots of stained glass. I wonder how this survived the Second World War. And an amazing pipe organ. Love to have heard that being played. And there's Glenn. Now after this, of course, it requires a bit of refreshing. So we had some Belgian and Dutch beers at a cafe right beside the church. Here's the gang. And I hung out with Graham too. Graham, there he is. He doesn't know yet what's ahead. That's a bit of foreshadowing. Also some good snacks. And then we walked around a bit more, saw some more amazing architecture. We just love these older buildings. And courtyards. With greenery, flowers. Yeah. And then John and Mr. PG were also with us, because there's Mr. PG. One of the canals, you'll see a bit more of that very shortly. This symbol with the red and white was everywhere. I do believe it's a symbol for Utrecht. Aha! Speaking of canals, tours just like you'd get in Amsterdam. Well, and after this, we decided to do something a little extraordinary. We climbed this 465-step bell tower. It used to be joined to the church, to the cathedral that you've already seen. But over the years, the way between the two got removed because of safety reasons. But here we are at the top.
We're at the top.
Utrecht from above. And here's Graham saying, I can't believe we just did that. Whose idea was this, really? And therefore refreshment required. Good Belgian beer, triple Carmelite. Or Carmelite. I warned you. Beer photos, beer selfies. Now after that, we came back to our camp, but instead of going to dinner at our accommodations, we went to this local place, this pancake house, Pannenkoeken house. More beer. This is a Dutch beer. Very good. And the gang. Hope you're starting to recognize all these people by now. Yeah, this is who we had. We all went to Utrecht together. We hung out, and then we went for dinner. And there's my dinner. A pancake dinner. Savory. A pannenkoeken with chicken is so good. And day 7. Now, I used to live in Belgium. Spent 6 years there. Played with a couple pipe bands there. And I made some really good Belgian friends. And they came and visited me up in the Netherlands. So we hung out all day. Yeah. There's Thierry. Real good buddy. He's actually visited me in Canada. We had a great 3 weeks here when he came a few years ago to visit Vancouver Island. Some food. Nothing special there except nibbles. You can see that on the board. And we're walking around the same town on my first free day, Nijmegen. But we saw different things this time. There's Sam and Jeff. No surprise there. Good Belgian beer. More downtown. This is neat because there's a lower level outdoor lower level into part of the town. That's really cool. And there's the whole gang. Thierry, Juan, Samuel, and Jean-Francois. Man, we had fun. And yeah, you're getting the idea now, aren't you? Yeah, you can see I've got a bit of sun on my face that day, and for that, and over the overall 3 days. But look at the flowering, the greenness everywhere. Beautiful. Viking longships are a cool thing. You take these river cruises. I've been on one of these river cruises with Viking. Amazing. If you ever get a chance, do it. But yeah, then we went to dinner in Huissen. So there's me and my Belgian gang, my homies. Jean-Francois took the selfie here, as it were. But that was fun and amazing dinner. All right, now off to day 8. Back to work. We went to a very famous Canadian war cemetery. Starting off on day 9, we went to the Dutch town of Diever. This was a cool place because we did an amazing ceremony, all in Dutch, where they honored 8 Canadian airmen who were killed when a bomber crashed nearby. A few shots from around the town. We had a nice reception where we were given coffee and treats. Also, I'm going to say a nice, very welcome Dutch tradition for us. At the ceremony itself, too bad I don't have any video to show you of this, but the next part is really cool because the local concert band wanted to play for us, and they did. And off we go now on day 10, believe it or not, to Veendam. It says Veendam, but the locals called it Veendam, where we went to the town hall and had an amazing reception. This is also a museum here because there were several resistance fighters that were hiding there while the Germans were still occupying the town. And we had another welcome before we put on a really big shoe. Can you hear how appreciative the audience was? Now here's us. Mount Aerosmith Pipe Band Gang. Isn't that a cool shot? With all the pipe banders. As an aside, every band that was attendance at this was given their own pipe banner. Isn't that very cool? Thank you, Chad, Miriam, Carrie, because I know you organized that. Amazing. This is a silent march we did at the end of the day where nobody talked. We walked about 2 kilometers to a ceremony and another memorial, marched back to the cemetery here, and then we finally played a couple tunes at the end of the evening. It was a long but good day. Day 11, Liberation Day. This was also a busy, busy day. We got off to Groningen first.
All right, here we are, though, dark 30. Hey, Barb.
Hey. About 2 minutes to 6.
There we are. We got in last night at midnight, so you could do math. We were all at well before 5 to get ready for the day. And here we are on another fun adventure.
We're going to probably sleep
On the
for
bus.
at least an hour, maybe.
Yep, get it in.
Then, on the same day, we went from Groningen to Appingedam. I get that right. Where we were treated to an amazing lunch inside this older church with many Dutch people who either were in the Second World War, and of course, given their age, they would have been very young, or they were very closely tied to it. It was an amazing way to get to meet and talk to some of the people who were there, who experienced the horrors of the Second World War. It was wonderful to be able to talk to them, and they really appreciated us being there. We ate some amazing Dutch food, like these. They look like Scotch eggs. They're breaded, and there's sausage, and there's egg, but it's a Dutch treat. Then we went outside and played in a bit of a parade. Didn't get any good video of that, but there was some cool World War II stuff, like the motorcycles and jeeps you've seen before. And then we were off to our next destination, and on the way I saw something very Dutch, very European, a large barge plying the canals. And off we went to Delft to do another bit of a parade, and then dinner. Mount Aerosmith gang in front of that windmill you just saw earlier, and then now we've got Barb and I. We all got these amazing coins from the folks that hosted us. Definitely a keepsake. And what would be a trip to Holland without windmills? And these are the modern ones now. They're everywhere. And on day 12, we went to Mill, very close to where we were staying, and then performed at a ceremony and marched in a parade to the local town center. on day 13, we all had a free day. And so I decided to go with Graham to the nearby city of Arnhem, which you may know from the movie A Bridge Too Far. And that was, in fact, the aiming point, was to see that bridge. But of course, along the way, we got to see a bit of Arnhem itself, including that wonderful architecture, church, and check this out, an old city gate, because it was a walled city at one point. Going along the river, and you can see the Arnhem Bridge in the background there. And here I am, hero shot in front of the bridge too far. Well, in reality, this is a rebuilt bridge because they bombed the bridge too far. And what city is not complete without their own McDonald's? Yeah, no, I did not go there. We did not go there. We, in fact, went for a wonderful lunch at a nearby cafe, sitting in a little bit in the sun and having great food, as usual. And then we headed back to through this very cool looking train station. Yeah, because you go take the train everywhere in Europe. Now for the last day, the grand adventure to Delft. This was our biggest crowd and adventure. So we did start off the day well by having lunch, some of us, at the pancake house nearby. And we ended our evening in Delft, enjoying the crowds and the atmosphere in the town center, the Grand Plaza. And then, of course, we went for the obligatory after-performance refreshments, and a good time was had by all. You'll see in a second here, us gathered around some beer with Mr. PG, and me, of course. And this brought to a close all the activities, and so the last day, day 15, we traveled back to Amsterdam by bus to get on a plane and head back to Vancouver and back to our homes. So here in the Amsterdam airport, we're getting one last chance to get some good Dutch beer. I am sure you've detected the theme. And here's one last shot of us happy Mount Aerosmith campers before we headed home. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Piping with Dawn and in our grand adventure in the Netherlands 2025. Cheers.